It's nice.
Bonjour.
Hello, and welcome to Midweek Gaming. It's the 21st of April. We're back once again. If you'd like a good gamer picture or banner or intro making from the graphic god, please check out www.xboxgamerpics.com and it'll sort you out. If you'd like to check out a good gaming website, independent one, check out www.bg4ghub.com for latest news, reviews, and opinion pieces, and so much more. And I've got a whole host of panel members this week, all co-hosts. No guests this week. That's how we like it. So, hi, are you there, VJ?
Oh, hi there.
How you
doing?
How are you doing, sir? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
You
Thanks
got some PG tips there?
I don't actually. I might wander off while someone else is having a chat. So, yeah. Perhaps removable sanity. It does give me the most amount of time to address my
I'll
issue.
try and give you a good amount of time for you.
For a lot of
Might have
people,
time to
that
go
would
for a
be an
snack,
insult, but removal probably takes that as a compliment.
You should.
I do think it's, yeah.
It's exceptional.
It's really, it's only, to be honest with you, it's me, Dreadpool, and VJ that are kind of, can really go on for the good 2 or 3 hour job, can't we, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cerebral tries, though. He does try.
Ooh.
I just want to respond to Muppet. I had a sausage about half hour ago.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Looks like
Oh,
we're off
you
to
did see
a
it,
great
we
start.
Good to hear you're okay anyway, VJ. How you doing, Mr. Tushi? Been driving all around the country?
Yeah, same old shit. I'm good anyway. Happy to be here. I missed last week because I got to do stupid o'clock in the morning to work, so I couldn't get up at 3 o'clock if I was on here till 12. So anyway, I'm here today. I'm happy to be here.
Did you hear Removable Sanity's impersonation of you as we went off the air last week? Did it cut out before then? Because he done. It's nice.
I've listened to 3/4 of the show. I just missed the. I've missed the last bit.
Right at the end. Right at the end bit.
The last
I actually thought
10
it was
seconds.
I'll have to have a listen and find out.
Okay. How are you doing, Cerebral Paul?
Oh, I'm doing good. Let's see, you've been mostly playing MLB, and you've heard of a one-legged man in ass kicking contest. Well, apparently I'm the leg sitting on the sidelines, wondering what the hell's going on because I'm really bad at that game. So yeah.
Me too. I'm a pro at getting free strikes every time.
Yeah.
That's the end of the game, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I'm
that'll
not
be
trying
fun.
it. No.
You're not trying it?
No. If I wanted to play, well, it's rounders.
Rounders.
Yeah.
Fully girly rounders.
To be fair, do you know what? I'd actually like. I wouldn't like. I've seen a game. I think it's a little bit too boring for me, but I'd like to go to an American game in real life. That I think would be amazing.
I don't watch it on TV. It's boring as all get out. It's like my dad always said. It's like watching grass grow. He always thought it'd be better if they let the batters run around with the bat when they're circling the bases. Make it a little more interesting, But going to a game, especially with friends, is totally different. The sounds, the smell, the food,
Oh yeah, the food definitely.
Yep.
Sanity. If you lived in America, what sport would you follow?
Ooh, to be honest with you, I would probably follow, and I'm going to be careful now because we have a different thing. I would follow American football.
Would you?
Oh,
yeah.
So, do you like
there's
rugby?
a particular reason for that it's got nothing to do with the pom-poms.
It's the big burly man.
He likes all those tight ends. He likes all.
It's the big burly man.
Well, I can actually attest to. I was there at Wembley Stadium when they had the American football came over to England for. I think it was for a week.
Oh, what? When we
was it? Do you remember which teams you saw? Was it when I know the Raiders go over there every year, or used to?
I think it was the Dolphins.
Okay, yeah.
The Dolphins. Yeah, and I think it could have been the Raiders. And
I think it was because I know they go every year.
Yeah, and it was. I think it was the very first time. I think it was either in the old Wembley Stadium, and I sat down and watched it, and I was actually, I loved it. I actually loved it. You know, I am no good at the games, but I actually loved watching it.
I would actually love to go over to to Wembley and watch one of the games they do over there. Just because it's got to be a slightly different experience. I know that a lot of Americans go over there and do it, but still, most of the stadium is probably UK people. So
it was actually quite strange when we was over there. You think it was UK people, but there was a lot of Americans who obviously were living in there.
Wow,
they did take up a lot of the stadium. Yeah. It was like coming home from there. And they're like, yep.
Apparently, it looks like Godzilla was at the same game as you. It looks like in chat. Yeah.
Godzilla was there.
Wow. Jesus.
He might have been just standing behind you, for all you know.
Small world.
I think that was a big enough stadium. We probably we.
You don't know though, do you?
You don't know.
There's a chance that as big as that stadium is, he could have been right in the seat next to you, and you never knew it.
Yeah, that is very true. But that would have been my sport.
Fair enough.
What about you, Tushi? What would you have done?
NASCAR.
Oh. Yeah,
why does that not surprise me? Why does that not say
it? Me as a redneck. He always struck me as kind of a redneck. You know?
This is the best shit.
Drinking bad beer and, you know.
I don't know. I've watched it. I don't watch sports at all. I don't watch any. I've never watched a game of football in my whole life or anything.
Really?
But, yeah, really. And the only sport I've ever watched is when I used to do bodybuilding. I used to watch it on TV and stuff. But American things, I've only ever watched NASCAR, but I just love the sound of the V8s flying past. I'd love to experience it though. Maybe one day.
I think we all know. I think we all know Stubbs would be a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Well, I used to watch it a lot. I used to watch it a lot, wrestling.
Yeah, it'd be rounders for Stubbs.
Yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't mind though. Like, it's American football. They're all these supposed big blokes, and they've all got to put padding on. Yeah. You don't do that in rugby.
It's
do that in rugby.
You think rugby's bad? You should see the Irish.
Rugby got seriously big guys in rugby.
Yep, and they don't wear as many pads. They don't wear as many pads.
They roid.
What was the Irish one?
Level they're at.
Oh God, it's you get guys get their ears ripped off, and that's just like the introduction sort of thing.
That's the pub crawl.
It's the pub before the match.
They batter each other.
Oh God, we love you really,
To be
Ireland.
fair, if you're not wrestling's entertainment, so if you're on about mat wrestling, they still do mat wrestling in America. Actual wrestling as a sport. But there's generally there's no American actual sport alike, really.
Sandy the hippie says his wife used to play rugby. Well, we know who wears the pants in his family. It's not him.
Oh, that's like a sexual
and carries the ball.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Tishy to say that. Oh, being thrown to the ground and being taken. Just take me.
Oh, Rich. You need a big woman to put me
I've actually lost. I've lost where we were.
We ain't gone anywhere yet.
We was talking about
That
was Paul's intro.
Yeah.
It took 9 minutes.
So, how are you doing, Animated Evil? You all good?
I am very well, sir. Happy to be here yet again. Thank you very much. Great to see you all. Great to see the chat's busy tonight as well. Happy. I'm just me.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Good to hear. Yeah, the chat's piling now, talking about. Yeah, they actually. Didn't the Italians have some brutal football version taking it back to medieval times? Suku said. I don't know. It's getting really random in the chat now.
I think he's right. To be honest, I think he's right. Yeah, I think there is. It was. Yeah,
there might be.
And they also used to wrestle naked, but hey, we won't go there. But
what?
But I think there actually, if you really want brutal thing at the there is medieval fighting, where they you put on medieval armor and beat the crap out of each other.
I know you know because you've experienced it.
I haven't experienced. Jesus Christ, would I? I'm not stupid enough to put on 10 tons worth of blooming metal and then get whacked over the head with a sword or an axe. No, I'm not bloody stupid. Jesus, no. I've seen it on YouTube where I think, and it is absolutely brutal. Honestly, you just see these guys wearing this proper metal armor, medieval armor, beating the crap out of each other with maces, and knives, and swords, and you're like, Jesus. Good luck on that.
Interesting. As long as they don't bring back shin kicking, we'll be fine.
Just keep the ass kicking around. That'll do, won't it?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So yeah, it's good to hear animated. How are you animated? Even though you've done not animated, removable sanity. Even though
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still good, Stubbs. I'm still good.
Yeah.
Even though
We'll come back
animated
to you in about
evil's
7 minutes.
Yeah.
even animated evil's done. No, wrong name.
I
Even
love the
though
fact that we've already managed to throw Stubbs off. He's
It's
Right.
taken us 11 minutes
How
and
are
he's
you- how are
completely
you
ruined.
doing?
Animating.
Removable sanity. Even you've done the most talking so far on the intros.
Well, you didn't ask me here to be quiet, did you? I mean, was that the case? I'm
No.
sorry. Oh, I didn't realise that was the presumption. You know, I'll just be stum. I'm doing exceptionally well. Thank you very much. Now, much appreciated for again having me on, and it's great to be with these amazing co-hosts and have a chat and have a laugh with them. They always bring me a smile, regardless.
Where are they?
When are they
These
turning
amazing
it?
heroes.
But yeah, no, it's
Honestly, I
good
feel
to have you all
we-
back
we
on.
could-
It is just.
Go on, Stubbs.
Well, what was your idea then? We could what?
Well, I was about to say we could classify ourselves like the Scooby Gang, to be honest with you.
The Scooby game.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo Gang.
I'm lost already.
Which
Well,
one
it
of us
feels
gets
like
to
it.
be
It feels-
Shaggy?
Well, that's that. Oh, there you go. I was leaving it for you.
I think Tushi must be tired. He's a bit slow on that front tonight.
I'm a bit. I've been up all day.
He's normally quick on that. Anyway,
Who's
welcome to
Velma?
everyone in the
That's
chat.
Paul.
Thanks for stopping by. The murder session, cerebral Paul. I'll keep it in normal style. The indie gamer, Goat Force Gaming, Dragon Ball. Thanks for showing off your incredible streak score on the DM earlier.
I've seen that.
You were
461 days.
Microsoft they actually reinstated my streaks because I said that
Nice.
it was an error and it went wrong, and they reinstated it to what it was. Goat Force Gaming, good to see you. That's Masuku, Delightly Lad, Muppet. Let's go back up a little bit.
Dead.
Let's see.
It's so funny. Every time you guys say Muppet,
Back
I
from
know
the
what it
dead.
means to you guys, so it doesn't, no longer mean the little,
What else we had Pixel Slapper earlier. Who else we got? Telegonic, thanks for stopping by. Just looking at the chat. I can't see anymore now. But yeah, back from the dead. Yep, I think we've got everyone just about nearly. I think that's it. It's going back down the list. There we go. Yeah, there's been quite a few topics there has, but we've got a few topics we have. So a lot of this has been going around the websites and various different discussions in different Twitter DMs and also Jago, welcome Jago. Thanks for stopping by, mate. The Days Gone director thinks Sony is placing too much emphasis on the Metacritic scores. Now, that question is in relation to Sony, but my question is a bit different to that because it's not just Sony. If you go back a long time with big publishers, there is a big emphasis on getting a great Metacritic score, and they are paying developers based on great Metacritic scores. It doesn't matter for some big publishers. It doesn't actually matter how great a game sells, which is what you want. You want your product to sell, and nowadays it gets put into Game Pass. You make more money, you make revenue that way as well. Just an evolving method. But you'd surely think that they place more value in the fact that a game has sold well or done well on different services. But for many years, Metacritic has got this hold over big publishers where they think they have to score big meta like 90s, and they're actually paying developers. Or I'm not saying all of them are, but there's a lot of big publishers that are paying developers based off. So they do a game, they've finished it, and they go and pitch a new game, and they say, we need this amount of budget for the game, and then they say to them, what was your last Metacritic score on your last game you made? And that is literally how a lot of the industry is paying developers. It will say Sony, but it's a widespread problem. It's not just Sony. No. It's tons of big publishers doing it. It's bad.
It started. Well, can I speak to that a little bit while it's fresh on my head?
Yeah.
It started. It not even that. It's because Metacritic's just an aggregate site, really. So what was happening, at least what happened in the early 2000s, even the late 90s, some of the magazines like GameSpot and whatever would actually, in trade for advertising in their magazine, would give a score that was a great score to a game that was absolute shit. It was the equivalent of what they call payola in the radio business. You give them money, they give you play, they give you notice, even if it's crap. A couple of the magazines got busted for that, actually. The problem now is, I personally don't look at critic scores anymore because now you have bombing. People even before the game or whatever comes out, there's people throwing in negative stuff. They've never seen it. They just want to give it a negative score. And it works the other way too. All your buddies put in a great score, even though they've never seen the game. It drives the score up. It's
annoying when you've been accredited as a supposed reviewer. There is usually review score bombing, but it's a bit annoying where if you read some of these accredited reviews, they actually, and you can tell by reading it, the guy's never played the game before. A lot of them are just to put in bad scores. I know the emphasis, like indie games, Metacritic is just the average score based on all the registered reviews. That's true, but it's the way the industry holds them to such a high standard and pays people based off what meta they get, not on how much they sell.
Don't they also look at regular user scores as well? Not just they're usually
I think
they might do.
Kind of like the Tomato site does for movies. There's the official scores, and there's the viewer scores. Yeah. Then
I'll just clarify the question again because a lot of lads might have missed it. The question is: are big publishers placing too much emphasis on a great Metascore because it came out after?
Oh, the other part I wanted to speak to that is the other part I wanted to say to that was because high scores means more eyes on the game. That's how it drives it. If something gets a high score, more people go, "Oh, I want to check this out." They drive each other. It's a mutual thing. That's why a publisher would look at the scores. High scores means more eyes are going to look at my title.
So also, when it's on the shelf for sale, like in a game shop, the scores are usually printed on the front of the case, aren't they?
Right.
As well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When it gets on straight tens.
Yep.
It looks like when I see that, it just looks like bullshit to me.
Yeah, I never think twice about that because you never know where they got the score from, or
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this is a generational thing, but to be honest with you, as you get older, how many of us really place that much emphasis in Metacritic or
Not
scores in general? I think scores in general as a review process is starting to almost be slightly phased out. The more content creators I see reviewing are more now going down the lines of phasing out scores entirely for a almost opinion-based review system. So it's like, I recommend it on this basis, or it's a avoid or rent or on sale aspect. It seems to be that these days it's almost like the last remnants of an outdated system.
Right.
Also, you say the last of the old guard.
Right.
Yeah, effectively. I was going to say the last night of the OK Corral.
But the problem is,
thinking.
yeah, but the problem is the big publishers are still putting a lot of emphasis on it, even though I'm not a publisher, but I think they should place it on. Did this game sell well? Did this game do well in Game Pass? If it's in Game Pass, did it use different metrics rather than just review? Reviews are only opinions, but what the main problem is they're paying people, but as you say, Metacritic is an opinion of everyone's opinion, not on how well the game did, and that's the problem. I hopefully one day it changes.
Well, I think the publishers are shifting as well, especially the ones that are more active on social media, because they can really see what we're saying. I mean, I hate to say it, Microsoft is a big show of that. Microsoft knows what we're saying. Hell, they watch our shows sometimes.
Well, to be honest, if you want a perfect example of how this is going, look at Rotten Tomatoes.
They some of them have, dude.
Yeah. Cerebral Paul's well known for that.
Really?
But if you want to see where it's going, look at Rotten Tomatoes, where effectively now people are just saying, well, to be honest with you, if the critics are saying it's bad, they probably think it's good. It's getting to such a skewed sort of system. People are almost mocking the sites now. And I think most people mock Metacritic. People most mock, Rotten Tomatoes. It's an outdated system which can be easily abused.
Right.
And so it no longer holds weight. So when people say, this game's got 10 out of 10, but it's only sold 50 copies. Well, why is that then? Well, mostly because it could be it. Yeah. The public doesn't agree with the reviewers. Again, it is an opinion-based system, but it's one of those things. I think the publishers are starting to wise up to this, as Cerebral has pointed out. I think, to be honest with you, it's going to be a last. I don't think this is going to be around for the next 5 years or 10 years.
I mean, Amazon's another good example. Everybody can dump their movie to be streamed on Amazon, and I've watched some truly bad crap. In fact, I'm going to do a review on one soon. I've got it mostly written out now; it's ready to go. But if you look at it, all of a sudden it had 4.5 stars, but you look at the reviews and you're like, huh, and then you look at the movie and you're really like, huh. Because apparently the guy had everybody and his mother and father, give it 5 stars.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And then there's the ones that little paid card that says, if you give us a 5-star review, we'll give you 10% discount off your next purchase.
Right. Or just
I've seen that a few times.
Yeah. I mean, even with us, with how many times do you get responses on these VODs that say, hey, do you want more viewers to pay for this, pay for that?
That's annoying, that is.
But it's all based on the same thing. The idea is to make it look more important or more popular than it is. Or in the case, then there's the whole review bomb thing, which is the opposite, but it's the same basic effect.
Yeah, in my 31 years of gaming, I have never once used Metacritic to find an opinion to buy a game. If I like a game, I'll play it.
Yeah.
I can't stand Metacritic. It's just bullshit. It's just all. I think all the reviews are probably paid.
Any reviews I use as I sometimes welcome graphic god. I look at some and see what they're actually reviewing. It's like, are they actually reviewing the film, or are they just, talking about what a scumbag the publisher is, or the game, or whatever, It's like, so if I do have to look at it for whatever reason, and I don't usually, just to see what all I try to parse out what's real and what's not. Most of the time it's not worth it. you know, for anything, movies, TV, you know, games, you know. So
VJ taught me something good
Graphic
for
Gold said
reviews. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on,
Graphic
Stubbs.
Gold just saying he used to know a guy that made a living from building fake review websites.
reviews.
Wow.
No, the websites. So there's obviously money in it, you know.
VJ taught me something ages ago, and that was if you ever want a proper opinion about something, go to somewhere like Amazon. If you want a review on something, because they're not aiming for anything on there, are they? You get more of an honest opinion on there.
Yep.
It used to be. I would say now, to be honest with you, I think games are okay. I think certain products, however, are rife with, as I said, I've seen it before where I got a product and they put a little card in there saying, you give us a 5-star rating, you'll get a 10% discount on your next thing.
True. I thought of that one.
It is, I think it was early on. I don't know. I think it's getting worse, possibly, because I've seen it before where it's like 5-star, verified purchase, and they don't even say anything. It's just like 5-star. I think, to be honest with you, the best way, and I think most of us do, find someone you find generally trustworthy, and then use them as a basis.
I was about to say that. I agree with Indy in the chat. It's not about reviews in general. It's about everybody using a certain site. I mean, I'm like Tushi. I've never, ever visited Metacritic. Don't know what it is. I don't care. But back in the day, as Dragonwolf also says in the chat, I used to read certain magazines as a younger gentleman, a teenager, and earlier than that even.
You used to get by the pictures.
They were my dad bought them. They don't count. And because they were, they seemed to know what they were talking about. They were in the journalism sort of area. I really relied on their reviews. I really did in the magazines back in the day. But when it's 5 people that agree, it's 7 out of 10. Fair enough. When there's 3,000 people all giving their opinion, it kind of ruins it a little bit. But reviews as general, I agree with. But again, I'm just agreeing with the guy saying, if you trust somebody and you think this guy knows what he's talking about, I trust them wholeheartedly.
I think that grows with history, because
I agree with reviews. Yeah, I do. Because there's quite a few websites that are good at reviewing. This subject was more on basically the Metacritic emphasis on developers being paid. That was more of it. But in reviews in general, I still read reviews. There's good sites like BG4G, Season Gaming, Iron Lord, sort of like great sites like that offer great reviews.
Yeah, I don't see the logic of paying for good reviews so much as paying. I do understand paying for performance based on sales of a game or whatever, because I don't understand. Hey, we got a great review, but I do understand. Hey, we sold 500,000 units. Here's a bonus. That I get. What I don't get is the based on good reviews, because that opens the way up for even some of the developers trying to hedge the reviews. Hey, Bob, go and post a review how awesome this game is, and Bob never played the game.
It happens. It has happened. It will still continue to happen.
Yeah,
I think it's hard to stamp that out. So it's one of those things, that's why I think, as I said, if you got rid of the actual numerical score, it's a lot harder to kind of manipulate it. My 7 out of 10 is very different to your 7 out of 10.
Right. Well, plus plus it's going to take the buyer to be the discerning eye as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know a good old way? So a good old way that I used to find an opinion on a game was by looking at the pictures in the on the back of the box, which is the easiest way, or the classic way was watching Games Master.
Oh
nice! Yeah, Game Master.
You see, oh my god, look at that game on there. Like, next week you're downtown, the next week buying it. Just love them days.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be coming back, that, isn't it?
True.
No, but there is a
No.
Kickstart. No, it's
There's something happening, isn't there? No?
Well, there's something
I
in the
don't know.
background. Well, Dominic Diamond has just released a historical book about Games Master on Kickstarter. I know because I've just backed it. Not a pun. And that will give you a background history of all the shows and how it was set up, how it has gone on, how it is created. But in terms of moving forward, I think they are trying to find something similar, but the trouble is, I think there's a few licensing issues, and I think there's a bit of hesitancy because I think who was the one who he does Taskmaster in the UK. Got his name. He did a games show that was similar. I can't think of what it's called.
What, recently?
Yeah, well, it was last year, I think, sometime. They did a game. I think it was on, I don't know, Channel 4 or something like that. It was
Yeah, I remember it. Fucking hell. Is it 8-bit something?
Yeah, it was that, and they did that for about they did 3 episodes or something like that, and it didn't do brilliantly. But I think that was mostly because of the host rather than the actual. So I think it's one of those things. They're trying to hedge their bets. They want to go back to the heyday of Games Master, Games World, because that was pulling in hundreds and thousands of views. But remember, that was also at a time when you could only get a review from either magazine.
Right.
Where else was you going to get anything?
Yeah, that's
so
exactly true.
It's a captive audience now. You can get a review, from Bob in the pub to Tushi's gaming site. It's a wide situation for everybody.
He's got in the background. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in and now get VJ's comments on this. Yeah, VJ.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. So the Days Gone director was thinking, saying he was placing too much emphasis on the Metacritic scores. So do you think big publishers are placing too much emphasis on great Metacritic score? But also, I'll kick off the next question as well. The same guy in the same interview was saying, don't complain if there's no sequel if you didn't buy it at full price. What's your thoughts on both them, VJ?
I think that someone was talking about developers and bonuses and stuff. I don't know how much of a developers or an individual basis I'm talking about, or perhaps even the team, because I'm not sure how they're divided up right now. How much of that bonus is sort of tethered to review scores, especially in the West. I mean, perhaps there's an inkling of truth to it, but it's not what I would suggest is a huge part of how bonuses are structured, especially at Sony. Royalties or dividends are paid quarterly and even 4 to 6 months after launch, and that's because the majority of a bonus is based on revenues and profits and performance. It's also to retain the staff after a project. A project doesn't just stop dead because the game's released. There's an aftermath and a squaring away or a sort of a storing of a said project sort of thing. Maybe well up to 3 months wrap up period. So the way competitors, on the other hand, sort of, and you do see people leaving after a game's launch, and even sometimes before the game launches, and the way competitors extract staff, and probably in most industries, but definitely in the gaming industry, is asking them to sort of forfeit a bonus and entice, the targeted talented person or whatever with a golden set of handcuffs, so sort of an incentive or signing on fee. Join right now, and you can't leave for an agreed or stipulated period of time. Otherwise, the amount that you've taken from us is repayable pro rata. So I've seen those sort of practices go on, and it was funny because last night I was just on Twitter for my sins, and I saw someone post some sort of one of those voting posts yesterday, where people were asked to sort of cast a vote on if they reference Metacritic at any point before purchasing a game. And I think over 60% voted no, because I think people are wising up over a period of years in terms of exactly what it is, right? It's a bit of a cesspit, right? Or a cesspool, or whatever you want to call it. And there were 2 other options, and I can't recall what they are. I'm sure one of them was yes, and the other one was, I'd just like to take a peek on what's happening. And then And then as I saw that, I popped over to Metacritic just to sort of have a look at what was going on. And I typed in one of my favorite games, God of War, and that had about 17,000 reviews on Metacritic. However, when I went and had a look on the same, God of War on Amazon, it had over 20,000 reviews, and that was just for the US Greatest Hits version of the game. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I might have got my numbers a little bit mixed up. But if you combine the number of Metacritic and Amazon, if you divide those up and divide it by the number of units sold, it's less than 0.5% of the audience, and that's before removing unverified review scores, right? And I think any company in this instance, or any instance, it's always about the conceivement of a project and appointing the right leaders and the difficulty of assembling of a team that will last the course, right? I think what's really important, because you asked a kind of a broad question, it sent my mind off all over the place, as typically questions normally do. We'll go off topic. I do try to marshal my thoughts, but it's really difficult with my brain. But I think what's important is in any sort of team, because I watched some of that interview with Jaffe, right, just to sort of give my answer a bit more of a context, and the balance of the mentality, the mindset, having the right rules in place amongst many other things, right, before you actually kickstart a project. Because game development is inherently not a red eye, right? It's a long haul sort of economy flight to Saturn, right, with a stopover at the moon. And that's probably about the best way I can put it. But listening to the game director, I think you mentioned, I think he himself gave an earnest and honest appraisal of himself and what he went through. And I think that a lot of the skills that perhaps he possessed at the beginning of the development, he doesn't have at this particular point in time. Definitely not the traits and the personality for big game development. It's the board game's completely changed given the figures that are there. And that's not a criticism, especially given how hard game development can impact you on an individual level, right? Especially if you're subjected to an extensive or extended prolonged period of time. And it can affect you for life. And I wouldn't be surprised if, in the future, or even right now, I'm not that well versed on it, if people are being diagnosed of some sort of variant that perhaps feels or is akin to sort of post-traumatic stress disorder. But you also have to then look at and take into account the risk and unpredictability of game development and all the stakeholders involved, and the duty of care that the shareholders or the stakeholders have before a project's commencement. And for me, to be quite honest with you, is that the days gone director, or whatever he has to say, right, that's from his perspective, and his team and him, and I'm sure he was there for a period of times. I think he worked on Siphon Filter games, which I thought were excellent, actually, and I actually thought they stood up to the Metal Gear Solid games. But anyway, that's a separate debate or topic entirely. But he was afforded the privilege and 6 years and the budget, right, to produce a game. And as I said, they had a duty of care, and I feel overall, from my experience with the game, they equipped themselves really well. And if you want to dovetail back into sort of what regarding Metacritic, none of us here on the panel, Ben Studios nor Sony, are clairvoyant or fortune tellers. Can anyone say, hand on heart, back in 2013 when the Days Gone project was greenlit, that Metacritic would be categorically critical or even relevant in relation to the success of a game releasing 6 years down the line? Can any of us sit here today and predict that what will be the yardstick or public point of index, and what will be the most prominent opinion in a sea of mediocrity? Let's be honest, right? And we know, because we're wise to, because we game every day, right? I do anyway. And Mr. Tushi's on the road, he dreams of it, right? So where are those opinions and review scores? Where are people going to migrate to in the next 6 years? I don't know the answer to that. And I think, and especially when you look at, and we've touched on this before, I have anyway, the blend of current gen gamers, which is, let's just assume that's us, and the next generation of gamers, they're far more diversified, right? And there's a clash. I kind of see a clash, and that sort of merger is kind of evolving, and maybe in a good or a bad way. Again, I don't know. I haven't just given it enough thought, and it's really difficult to predict. And I'm not sort of currently paid enough, right, to give it my time and thought to give you a conclusive answer of any sort. But games still, to a large degree, and I think, listening to, I forgot who was mentioning about the magazine. I think it was I forgot his name now. What's his name? Animated Movie was saying. Animated Movie was saying. And
The cheeky magazines.
no. Yeah, I mean, that all aside. Yeah, I remember, Meme Machines, right? And Drunken Master was on there on the PC Engine, and I was like, oh my god, look at the size of those sprites. My Mega Drive can't handle that. Anyway, but
Sega Force.
Games still sell on visuals, the publishing brand, sponsorships, promotional activity, trailers, PR marketing, selling you the future promise, and even more so today as it did in the 90s, based on what Removable was saying, on word of mouth. And word of mouth now also includes people mouthing off on social media, right? Twitter or whatever have you, right? And subsequently, that builds up and propagates people and communities and so on and so forth. And you only have to look at, and I'm really sorry about this, I'm sure the indie game is going to love me for it, just ask Team Cherry in regards to the latter, right? I mean, I'm speaking about Hollow Knight for a reason. I, like so many other gamers, sorry, not many gamers, but gamers that have seen games that sell 1 million or 3 million units that we haven't heard of, and 3 million obviously is in the case of Hollow Knight, or 10 million in this case of God of War. And why do they sell them? Because they're able to capture a given audience or unsuspecting audience's imagination. And that's what games, for me, are truly about, that they all try to capture your imagination or vie for it. Days Gone, as a case in point, right? I'm not trying to pick on it or anything, or the developer. It struggled in its attempts to really capture an audience on several different levels, which I'm not going to go into right now. But if you can put your prejudices, preconceptions, sensibilities aside and approach any game, except MLB, of course, with any open mind, you will find that the fact that Days Gone today, regardless of what you feel about the studio or the company that's produced it, is a great game and worthy of a time. Or I think it at least justifies your consideration, right? And that's what I really like about Game Pass, right? I mean, I've finished Yakuza, Resident Evil 7, and I've just started Octopath Traveler, all in a matter of a week, right? So, but games that are the two games that I've mentioned just for this particular question that you've raised have done relatively well in staving off some of the unfounded and thoughtless and subjective media reviews and consumer perception on certain websites like Metacritic to still reach profitability. But for me, I have no idea how Days Gone was or sales of Days Gone was impacted by Metacritic or reviews and subsequent impressions of said reviews, right? Because a lot of people obviously go there, observe, but don't leave a comment, right? So, and I don't know those analytics, right? And for me, I was speaking to the indie gamer when I was playing Hollow Knight, and Mr. Sushi says I gave him some good advice, but indie gamer gave me some good advice. He said, look, if you want to really get a hands-on impression from true gamers in terms of games that are available on PC, go to Steam. And I obviously found that those reviews were far more eye-opening, right? If you look for the ones that have integrity in them, right? So, and finally, I think it's the game director's opinion on his experience of working at Sony Interactive, that Sony Interactive Entertainment live and breathe and make decisions based on Metacritic. It was, I'm sorry, I'm paraphrasing it, but that's what he said, right? And that's what he seems to imply. I think the truth is not as simple or as pure as anyone claims, right? It's about timing. And at the time, the team...
That may very well be true.
Yeah, the experience of the Green Light Committee, I think, comes into it heavily, right? And I think that they didn't want to make the same mistake twice over at Sony. And it may have nothing to do with the pitch of the sequel. I believe Sony conduct themselves in a very specific way, from my experience, and their Green Light team and their stakeholders across all the territories, because they all have an input, would have looked at the situation, perhaps used the Metacritic to aid in declining the proposal for Days Gone 2 in a diplomatic way. With hindsight, for me personally, and working within a corporation accountable to shareholders secondarily to the customer, and wondering if they should take another 6-year hard slog with a Pacific studio, I wouldn't have greenlit Days Gone 2. I'd have placed them, I placed the Days Gone director in terms of his demeanor and how he was, and it brought back memories to me of like Ken Levine, Cliff Bleszinski, David Jaffe himself, who was the interviewer, right, and the position that they were once in. I would have allocated that 250 million budget for the game and the publishing and the marketing and everything that's going to come up against, or it's going to require, to Jade Raymond, and I think Sony have actually gone and done that. And I didn't think Days Gone 2 carries the creative spark that would transcend across to a successful sequel, and I'm not sure even in my case, in terms of how Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is going to be received. And I know Mr. Tushi is probably bound to have a sort of different perspective on that, as I know he's a fan of the game. And finally, what I wanted to say, to Jaffe's credit, because I went and painfully went through this interview, he was able to ask really penetrating and searching questions, and having done so, was able to extract really interesting and sort of unfettered or unrestrained answers that have a degree of credibility and honest emotion to them. And the thing is, people may ask, well, why was he able to do that? It's because Jaffe himself has lived through the process, right? And it's really interesting that he's gone through that experience in a similar fashion, maybe at a different time, 10 years ago, but not much has changed, right? In senior people leaving their posts and going through whatever they go through, right, and never quite make it back. And before we had this discussion, I was going to go and have a look to see why that guy who'd been at 20 years at Overwatch, right, why he suddenly left. But I think I've got on for quite a while here. But I did want to just say that the games industry is one of the fastest moving industries in the world, and it's really unpredictable. And it's really ironic for me to say that, and the fact that certain landmark games do take about 6 years to produce. But I'm going to stop there anyway, because I think someone else should say something.
No, you have very good points there, VG. It's one of them subjects. I mean, there's as you say, there's many different factors to it, isn't there? I mean, it may not, but like you say, it may not. What he said about Sony might not actually be true as well. It's
the truth is never clear. It's never clear and simple. Yeah,
exactly. So
At
what
least,
were you going to say, Tushi?
At least with them cancelling Days Gone 2, at least they're getting a new IP out of it anyway, which is good in another sense. Start afresh with a new story or something, isn't there? I think that's true, isn't it? Do you know?
I think I heard something similar, yeah.
Yeah, I think you've had two key people leave, right? And no doubt you have a technically talented team there that surprised me in terms of what they were able to produce with Days Gone being an open world game, because I don't associate big open world games that stream really well in the Unreal Engine, and that's perhaps because I haven't played enough video games based on open world games based in Unreal. So I think that the team is really good, but you still need someone to create a proposal that have that creative spark and be able to fulfill the two roles that are important roles, I would say, that have been vacated within the studio. And that perhaps is something that's been done, perhaps it's ongoing, or perhaps it's something that's being reviewed. And I think that's all open to interpretation and rumor at this stage until something's officially announced. But I'm with you, Mr. Tushi. I don't think the studio's bad. I think they did a good job.
That was an amazing game.
I just think circumstances went against them to some degree, and the game just didn't appeal to a wide enough audience. And I think that also, as I said to you, listening to the game director and the creative director in two separate interviews, you can see that they've had their fill of whatever big game development is. It's not Sony. It's across all studios, all publishers, all platform holders, right? It's systemic, right? At the end of the day, I don't know if that's the right word. I might have to look that one up. I don't know. I shouldn't really pronounce the words that I can't spell. But anyway, I'm going to just stop there.
With let's try and get this worded right. With the way that the game wasn't marketed enough when it first came out, because it was a really good game. I own it as well. I enjoyed it. Do you feel like that Sony didn't have faith in the game from the start? If you know what I mean.
Sony might have known.
They haven't bothered with it. They haven't pushed it, and then
they had another big hitter that was in its way.
That's probably why.
Yeah,
but I think they knew.
I think the game was already delayed, and I think that what Sony did is, first of all, the game did suffer from technical challenges, right? And we've seen the same thing happen to Cyberpunk, right, which still went on to sell really well. But I just don't think it had a broad enough appeal by the time the game came to its conclusion, right? So I think that is a massive factor. And then secondly, I think the game was delayed. And thirdly, I think that Sony made the mistake of hedging all their marketing funds towards a game which was releasing 6 months later, which was supposed to be their golden title for that year, which was goodness me, it's Kojima's walking simulator.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding.
I mean, but Paul, look, I straddle between all game consoles, but it'd be interesting to get your perspective, as someone who who kind of sometimes not in a I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but sometimes it's somebody outside of the fishbowl looking inwards, right?
That's a question, Cerebral.
Oh, that was directed to me? Oh, crap. Oh, I mean...
I will caught you with your pants down.
I mean, my pants, I don't wear any pants, so it's not a problem. So...
That means something different to us Brits.
I know it does. I know it does.
Ever.
That's why I love saying that.
Skid marks in the trousers.
Well, I was going to speak to the other thing that was said where he goes, if you want a sequel, buy the game at full price. But that, to me, that sounds like somebody who's butthurt. I'm sorry, but it's and it's like...
It's not a nice comment at all.
If I really like a game, I may buy it full price, but you know what? Especially after a year of COVID, a lot of people are not in a financial position to spend 60, 70, $85 on a new game. Sorry, But he came across like he was talking down to everybody who dared not to. Dude, if you want to turn off your fan base, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two sides to it. I mean, I think the game was launched a year before the pandemic itself. So
right.
And secondly, the fact is that I have to agree with Paul to a degree that there is an element of sour grapes there, because if the game had come out, if it had been given more time, and I think Mr. Tushi's having played and I haven't played it, it did need another 3 months. But I don't know if Sony were confident of releasing it during the summer, and I think that did have an impact on the sale of the game. I think it did have an impact on Sony's decision not to greenlight the sequel, and I think it did demoralize the creative director and the game director after 6 years worth of effort. And I can't blame him for reacting that way, Paul, because it does take a lot out of you.
But I can't blame him for blaming the public.
No. I think from a professional point of view, those sort of comments don't really. You're effectively alienating the public that officially, that supported you, that bought it post $60 at $30 or $20 or getting PlayStation Plus or free, and etc.
Right, but still, it's not cool to go. You know what? If you want a sequel to this game, you should have bought it day one. Yeah. Dude. You know what I'm gonna if I was standing in front of you and you said that to me, you'd probably get my finger in your face.
It's like building a bad hotel, right? And no guest has to come and visit you, right? And it's like, well, it's not our fault. You built a bad hotel, right? At the end of the day, in the middle of nowhere.
The thing is, it feels like it's pushing people to buy games early, but you buy games when you can afford it. It's
right.
Like everyone, not everybody can just buy a game. As you said, no one can just buy a game whenever they want.
Plus, even if everybody were to buy it day one, great, you've got the money coming in, but what if the reviews are so-so? Or look at, Cyberpunk will probably get a sequel, but if you base it on what happened at launch, please, that ain't going to do shit,
I want a sequel and DLC.
Right. But sometimes it takes time for that fandom to build up,
Yeah.
So day one or not, you kind of have to wait till the game's out there.
Even Days Gone had a big fandom out there. There was a lot of people that loved the game.
Right.
There still is.
They all say that it's a very underrated game, and
it all comes down to the economics, right? That's how Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo will look at the economics. Do not speak favorably in this particular game, and I do feel sorry for the developer on that hand, right? And all the people that put the effort in to make it great. But at the same time, Paul has a valid point. You can't come out and then alienate the very public that you want the support from.
Right. Because next game he comes out with, people are going to go, wasn't that the guy who basically told us we had to buy it day one?
Yeah, I mean,
I'd buy it when it's on sale just to piss him off.
Which means a lot of people are going to be tweeting him, I'm going to wait till it comes out on Game Pass.
A lot of people do, though.
Sorry,
it's like, I think you were saying once, VJ,
No, I was just going to say something that removable sanity often reminds us of is the fact that, look, you don't know what sort of day he's had. You don't know if he is actually suffering from any sort of PTSD. So I want to give the guy a benefit of the doubt. If he makes a good game and it appeals to me, I'll go and buy it. If I can afford to buy it at 60 or 70, I will do it. If I have to wait till it's 30, that's fine. If I have to wait till it's free, then that's fine also. But I'd like to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, because he's not the first one, and he won't be the last one that has suffered from a long arduous task, which, let's be honest, 6 years it took, right?
Right.
I will like to try and
add, my response to that would be, if it was just because he was having a bad day, then he needs to come out and say, "Look, I apologize for my comments.
Yeah.
They came across like shit."
Yeah.
And,
I would like to say, people who have done interviews before, please be aware that that interview probably started a good hour and a half after a conversation. So you don't know if the interviewer prompted him, praised him, preamed him, riled him up previously. I'm not saying it happened. I have seen it. I have seen it happen where people will. You don't always get the right. Walk in, have an interview. Sometimes you'll get people sitting down, have things, and it's not. I've seen it happen. I've seen people go through, and in a way, let's face it, this has caught the attention for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
and that's what it's wanted. How do you get, if you wind someone up and you know you're going to publish something, that's going to get you publicity. Right. Now, I'm not saying the interviewer has done it. I'm just saying it has happened previously, where interviewers wind up, tease, get the interviewee a little bit heckled, so that when it happens to the interviewee, they sometimes say things they don't always mean. Yeah. Because it goes well for ratings. And let's face it, it has. It's definitely got people talking. As VJ says, we also don't know if he's having a bit of stress, but as Cerebral was perfectly pointed out, if that is the case, there really shouldn't be any reason why he can't come out and say, look, it was a heated moment. I don't actually mean this. Or, you don't, the interviewer wound me up a little bit. I don't think they'd say that anyway, because
maybe also. Go on. Sorry. I was going to say maybe. Yeah. After you, VJ.
I was just going to say, and it might lend to your point, Animated Evil, is that the studio did subsequently come out and didn't apologize, but they expressed a huge amount of gratitude for the people that supported the studio and the game, which may be in effect trying to protect the integrity of the studio and perhaps a sequel. I don't know, but I thought that might be a pertinent point that might lend to the conversation we're having.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
they pulled. Go on, Animated.
I was just gonna say, when they announced that they weren't going to do it, there was so much shit on social media. You don't know. He may have had 3 weeks of DMs about it, just calling him all sorts of names and things like that. Exactly. And the guy might have just have had enough. I mean, we're all human at the end of the day. And you can only take so much. It might have just been I've had enough of this bullshit question.
But as somebody who's been in the public eye, you have to curb that. You have to realize that, especially when you're in an interview, everything you say is going to be ripped apart.
But actually, Paul, absolutely. To your point. But isn't it possibly telling? And I'm just reaching here. Is the fact that what he said is quite telling in the fact that. He's kind of admitting the fact that the game didn't do well, and that's why it didn't get a sequel. Yeah. So, and then what I see is people laying the blame at Sony's door. Why haven't you greenlit it? What is going on? Get Jim Ryan out. It's just like, come on, this is real life.
He could have made that point without saying, if you want a sequel, you got to buy it full price.
I think like what Animator was saying, it could have been true because he'd been getting shit for weeks. And it could have been a game that he's poured his heart and his soul into. Exactly. And it's a place of passion. And he just got annoyed with it. And that was it. But you are right. You should have said, I apologise for that. But he could come out and say it eventually, But.
Just imagine, like you just said, you've just made like the best game you've ever made. It's absolutely amazing. People love the game. But then your boss at Sony says, no, you're not building this game anymore. You're building this instead. like you said, he's put his heart and soul into that game. He's probably well pissed off.
I'll say this, Mr. Tushi, on his behalf. The guy was really honest and really candid, and he said, "You know what? There was times during the development period I was screaming, 'Get me out of here! I don't want to, pretty much do this anymore.'" And he was honest about that, and I can't knock the guy for that, because I keep saying that 6 years of giving your life to any kind of creative endeavor is incredibly difficult. And the reason why I can say that with hand on heart, because I've been privy to it for over 25 years, and I've seen really talented people that have never actually made it, right? That should have done, but it's not just enough to be creative, artistic, talented, being able to write documents, being able to write code, being able to draw, being able to 3D model. There's a mentality to it as well, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that strength in depth. They may start out, with all the hubris and all the how can I put, the energy to pursue something, but just look at, if you want to look at it in some otherness, just look at how many people try to climb Mount Everest, right, and how many people actually make it, right, and you've got to take that into consideration, because there's a huge human element to it, right?
Well, it's like filmmakers go through the same thing. They pour their heart and soul into a film. They think it's going to be great, and it tanks, and it gets the golden Razzie for the year,
Is this breaking news from the indie game, or is he winding me up? Silk Song news at E3 from Nintendo. Book it in.
No,
don't let my heart flutter, indie game.
No, he's saying yeah. No, I think he's just saying. I
won't be podcasting that week, Mr. Stubbs, unless every single topic is Silk Song.
Well, yeah, we'll have to get indie game on that week. When Silk Song's announced and shown off, a little tease will be enough for you lot.
It'll be a nice change from Gears. So
yeah. I look at it this way. Anytime you do,
I'll be honest. At this point, I've actually fed up with playing. I've not played the game in weeks. I want.
He's gone down that I hate it route.
Halo. No, I didn't say that.
Yes, did we? He didn't turn up.
I was talking.
I didn't even come. No.
Talking of playing games, Stubbs, and I was chatting to Mr. Tushi. I mean, I'm a grown man. I was playing Resident Evil 7, and believe me, the amount of times I was about to click, adult diaper button to pre-order.
You shit yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly designed game, but it still creeps me out. I still have nightmares, and 8's around the corner. Oh my goodness.
Stubbs, pin that comment.
Yeah.
Infinite.
25. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, 25 watching, only 14 likes. Let's hit the like button, peeps. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Indie Gamer, and you see the Assassin Looper inside as well.
I'll give you a dislike.
Yes, it's been a good chat so far. Yeah.
Once again,
but
what I was going to say was let me just say real quick that making games is like anything else that you're making entertainment. Be it movies or music, you're going to get criticized one way or the other.
Yeah.
And that's got to be something you have to be, ready and willing to take. It's part of the it's part of the gig. It's.
I thought I'd throw in a golf reference there for you, but never mind.
And not everybody's going to like what you do. And sometimes what you think is awesome, the general public thinks is utter crap. I mean, sorry, that's just,
That's the eye of love for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of Resident Evil 4, do you know it'd be a good stream for Animated Evil? Resident Evil 4 in VR.
But we can't get him to do it. We can't get him to do it, though.
I can be persuaded.
A few beers.
I'll be honest. As scared as I was with Outlast, I actually enjoyed doing it. Once I've got time, I am going to go back to that and go live again with it. It's been a whirlwind couple of weeks with work and all sorts of things, and I'm finding it hard to dedicate my time to gaming right now, which is horrible to say. Horrible.
I know that feeling.
And Sandy's in the same boat, and sometimes real life takes over, and you just got to think, what's more important?
Gaming.
Sleep.
Oh,
That's true.
Gaming is, yes.
well, I don't have a real life, so it's not an option for me. So it's so far anyway. So
We're not
Hey,
real. Woo!
no,
My,
you're my imaginary internet and my imaginary internet friends, and I must be on some heavy drugs because you guys are weird. So,
No, we're just British.
Yeah. That's even worse.
I was just going to say, in terms of the royalties and everything we were talking about, it's interesting that even though the project wasn't green lit, that these guys left near on 12 months or 15 months after the game was released, and that's because they're waiting for their royalty checks to come through as well. I'm just surmising here, but I think as I say, the truth is never pure and never simple, right? Yep. There's so many facets to it, right, that we could carry on discussing. But anyway, I'm sure Stubbs has either gone to sleep or has another topic for us.
Isn't it also? Isn't it also, though, part of it is the reason that the company stays fluid after the game is released is to deal with bugs and issues that may come up for a while?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bugs and issues? Never have we ever had a game with bugs and issues after release.
That's
what
right.
world do you live in?
You're right. It's like all them people it's all like all them people that moaned about Outriders being broken and stuff, and then not all of them, but some of them will go out and buy Call of Duty every year. Massive file size, game broken, and they won't moan about it. It's accepted,
No such thing.
It is.
Like the other day when I think it was PC Mag that posted, Call of Duty has a 25 gig patch, which for them is small. I'm like, yep, sad but true.
It's true, but sadly, there is technology out there to half the file sizes, and they don't seem to be interested in doing anything like that. There is the tech out there to half all the file sizes, but they don't seem to do it.
Heck, most of the other games do it.
Maybe it costs them a few pence more.
Yeah.
Speaking of file sizes, I noticed today that second extension's only 9 gig.
Wow, that's impressive.
Small,
That's impressive.
Yeah, that gets you to the top screen.
It is.
Oh, is that before it says you can start now?
That's it. Yeah, that gets you to a start screen, and then you get to the lobby, and then you have to wait for the 200 gig later. That'll move you forward.
Yeah,
maybe that's just pre-download or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, you get into the title screen, it goes, "Dum 50 gig download update."
Yeah, it does.
That's what Warzone used to do.
Exactly.
Welcome,
Next
Max.
topic,
Thanks for stopping by. Right, so CD Projekt Red's 2020 saw record revenue and profit despite the woes of Cyberpunk 2077. The company saw record highs. Now, here's one for you. Will Cyberpunk 2077 have a redemption story? When will it return to the PlayStation Store? And will it be like what once is in my belief? The question is, and will it sell like GTA 5 will for years? I don't mean as long as that. I mean over the period. But I believe that once they actually fix every bug and they nail the next gen version, graphically, and it's good, I do think that Cyberpunk will have a redemption story in it. I think it will sell for years, that game. And they will release DLC, and that's my belief. I could be wrong, but I do think.
DLC
wait! Fix all the bugs and get it working correctly, and get the next gen up. So we are talking about 2077 here. In 2077.
No.
Okay.
Nah.
No, I figure it'll probably take them a year or two before they get everything up and running where they want it. But yeah, I can see them redeeming themselves.
In the end, it will.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't, but I really think because they have said, I don't know where, they have said that's going to be their effort to, because I don't know if it directly came from the studio. I've seen something, I can't remember where it was posted, that their aim is to get the game running perfectly and the next gen version, everything so it's fine, because they want to be selling the game for quite a few years. Same as Witcher, really. People still buy it to this day. They are.
Yeah.
They will redeem themselves in the end.
This week I've spent about 20 hours on Cyberpunk. I've really got back into it again, and I've had literally no issues at all since I've been back on it. I've only had one
That's good.
one
I might
glitch in
play
the
it,
whole
maybe.
45 hours on it, or 50 hours I've done
Well,
so
that's
around
good.
there.
Here's
Because
a
I mentioned
question,
it before.
though. Also, to anyone who has completed it, would the same people go back and replay the game with the whole next gen patch?
100%.
I think a lot of people might. I don't know if everyone will.
Well,
but
remember, you've got three. Is it 3 or 4 starting arcs? You've got, you there are. I don't think many people. I mean, again, I'm surmising here. Is you have a starting. You got, is it 3 different starting zones? So you got either the outsiders, the rough kid, and the corporate.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I suspect most people have, if they have completed, they've done one of those 3 origin stories. And if they've got it on the next gen, they're probably waiting for the next gen so they can then go through and do the other origin stories and see what happens and see what doesn't. Also, remember, there is going to be DLC. They have announced they will do DLC. What has surprised me, though, is they have announced a pause on multiplayer.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, because they want to. Yeah,
focus.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Because
Well, no, it's a good idea. But it does tell
and get everything.
Yeah, it tells me their ethos is and I think, to be honest with you, they're more worried now about the next gen update than anything else. I think if they get that wrong, the backlash, I think they feel it will be really too much for them to handle. And I think they are not taking the risk at this time. And again, this is just me summarising. They're going to really try and make sure that latest next gen upgrade is the bee's knees, because you can imagine.
Yeah, they're going to test the crap out of that. You're going to pay people to test it, and they're going to really make sure that it's fine piece of work.
Yeah,
or
they've been burnt now. They'll be idiots to not get that almost nigh perfect. I know perfect is, everyone's going to have some sort of issues, but they get that wrong, it's going to be. I think that'll be too much for them. So I think that's where their focus is on. Their focus is on making sure they can do as much as they can for the last gen, and currently really pushing hard to make sure they really hit home on the next gen. And then they'll move on to the DLC.
Talk about pressure they've got to be under.
Oh yeah, it's their own fault.
It's a massive
it's their own fault. But
oh yeah,
the boss's fault, not the devs.
No, I agree. Yeah. But I think, to be honest with you now, I think after what they've seen and what the backlash they got out of it, I don't think they're willing to take the risk. And my gut feeling is, and this is just my opinion,
felt for them.
I think they will delay it. I think there's going to be a delay for the next gen patch. I think there's going to be a delay.
I would actually agree with that, because you got to think though, you a lot of developers will take pride in their work and what they work on. You got to think, because I bet they felt like crap thinking, oh, well, boss is gonna release it anyway, and we're gonna get a load of crap online. Because the devs said this game isn't ready. And I bet they thought, great, now my Twitter's going to blow up now with death threats and all sorts of crap, because it happens to devs. It shouldn't happen. But it's like,
I do follow one of the actual devs themselves.
Because the devs,
I follow one of the devs themselves, and he doesn't. He's careful about what he's putting in his Twitter bio now. I think he learned a lesson, saying that he was, part and parcel of the team that helped to develop the Cyberpunk 2077. But he does regularly say, he consistently keeps saying, we are working on that our butts off to get this done. We are working to try and make this the best game it is. We are still proud of it, but we are working hard. And I think, so at least from what I can see from his personal account, again, this is just his personal one account, that's one out of many, I do believe they are working really hard to try and get this to be the best they can do. Again, it's the pressure. I think the pressure is going to be the one that's going to tell the time. They've got so much on their shoulders. I wouldn't like being in that position, that's for sure.
Did you see the size of the patch notes? It's about bloody 5 pages long. Those patch notes, weren't they? For the not the last update, it was the one before. Because there was a 23 gig update. Was it last week? Was it?
Yep.
But then before the one before that, was it? Yeah, the 40 gig one was about 5 pages long of the patch notes for all the repairs and stuff. But I've got it on the Series X and on PC. And it runs brilliant on both of mine at the moment. So I'm really happy with
it on the 2013 one console though. But
because of the pressure they're under, that's the reason. A lot of people on Twitter, they'll go as far as they'll say they're a developer, but they won't ever say what they're working on. Not because of the NDA or whatever, but it's because they don't want to put up with the crap. They don't want to.
With the death threats, with the attacks,
keyboard warriors, lovely people.
Simply not worth your time to put who you really are out there. Unfortunately, it isn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could cope with the message every hour saying, "When's the game out? When's the game out? When's the game out?"
And that's been polite.
It's interesting.
Are we there? Are we there?
That's just me.
Well, that topic come up on the Indie Games podcast last Saturday, and it wasn't one that was planned. It was one that just got onto. And apparently, a lot of indie developers are pushed. A lot of games that come out, a lot of people harass them on Twitter and DM them and email them. About the fact that release it, and the pressure is a lot, and it's wrong because you should wait for a game to be ready because that is the true vision of the developer and the game they want. But it's not right. It's saying release, and then a lot of the time they release it and it ain't ready. Well, you should never give in to pressure, but it must be really difficult though because Cyberpunk's CDPR is a big company. Whereas a lot of indie devs are little, and okay, people can be excited, but they shouldn't go to the lengths people do. Because I can't remember what studio it was indie we were talking about, and he basically what he does is it's a game that people are after. Indie might be able to know the game I was on about. It's he gets harassed on Twitter, but he goes radio silent, and it enrages him because he just goes off Twitter. He doesn't answer emails to anyone. He disappears until he drops his next little video of the game, and he does it again. He disappears again, and it makes people worse and worse. But people shouldn't be like that. They should wait for the product to be. It's like you wouldn't like if someone was making a TV. Release that TV. Come on, or release this 12K TV. Come on, or some crap like that. You should wait for the game to be developed. Finished.
If you order a bacon sandwich, you know there's spice in it if you push them.
The problem with that on social media,
I'll just give you some raw. I'll give you some raw bacon. I'll just chuck it in the roll. There you go. I ain't giving time to. The
problem with that on social media and stuff is the fact that
it's Tunic you're on by Indie. Okay.
Is Tunic, is that the one that's got the graphics like The Tourist?
That might be the one Indie's on about. It's Tunic then. It's in the comments, the release date, except, so it's Tunic is getting the crap. Yeah. You should just wait for it to be finished. Sorry, Animated, carry on.
It's all right. What I was going to say was the problem with the social media aspect of it. All people say, I was going to say all we see, but I stand above that kind of thing. All people see in his account, and they don't realise there's actual human beings behind that account reading what you're putting.
It's not a PR person.
Do you know what I mean? It's not just a robotic. It's an actual person sat there thinking, "Shit, you get enough hate, you'll doubt yourself no matter who you are," and that's the problem. That's where these keyboard warriors get off. They don't care because it's just an account. Who cares? But to the person that's receiving these things, I can imagine it's absolutely horrible.
Oh yeah, because you try to take not personally, but after a while it becomes a little bit heavy,
It does. It will do. It's like Indy said there's tons of developers that get attacked, from small to big indie devs to big studios. It's
I can imagine.
It's not right because like a lot of I won't bring it. A while ago, the one of the community managers from Gears left, but that was after a long while of people giving him shit and all sorts. You know, one of the community managers. It's not his fault. His job is to collect data from people, what they've said, and translate it to the developers. It's not his job to go and fix the game and say, "Oh, I'll fix it." You know, the community manager is literally to take crap off people as well. You know,
it's wrong.
It is. It is wrong. It is.
Back to the start of the question.
Thoughts on this?
Well, I was going to put a question for V. Sorry.
That's it. That's it. We'll get back on topic.
Back on topic, Josh. Go on.
You mentioned about if you're going to be playing through this again. I just want to ask VJ because VJ's completed the game. I haven't yet. I've just gone to the part where you get the part for no return when you go to that club. So I'm literally right at the end. But I want to ask VJ: is he looking forward to starting it again?
I think. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think for me the answer is yes. But there were some interesting points raised, and I was just making some quick notes. Look, from my time in Poland, I want to sort of dovetail into the topic about pressure and so on and so forth. I can tell you that the Polish are a resilient and passionate people. And it's true that they have a talented studio full of experience from all over Eastern and Western Europe and obviously some from America. But again, let me cement my comment by stating the fact that they were prepared to go to war with Russia with troops aligned and ready at the border earlier in the last decade while I was there. So that just gives you a small insight to what the people in Poland are about, right? They don't back down, and trust me, threats don't necessarily, work on a country that was subjugated to communism for 50 years and only came out of it in 1990. So, and I think this is an interesting topic because it kind of sort of backs into almost exactly what we were discussing in relation to Days Gone. And it was interesting to see that both Days Gone and Cyberpunk have a user score on Metacritic of 71, albeit Cyberpunk has about 10,000 more reviews. But I think then it sort of dawned on me, why has Cyberpunk done so well? They both had similar development schedules and trajectories and issues and technical issues as well, right, which we've kind of talked about in the previous topic. What, in my opinion, gives Cyberpunk a game, as Mr. Tushi says, I have completed and I really enjoyed. And I think I even said to Removable Sanity, I can't wait to revisit the game once the next gen patch is out. But I wanted to actually go back into it even before then. But Cyberpunk, I think it's got the edge and it's had success. Given that the success it's had already so far, relatively speaking, right, is the fact it captured. Again, it had that magical spark and imagination ever since the genesis of the project, which I talk about a lot on several different podcasts. And was it 2018 when that E3 trailer came out in June, something like that? And it's like got over 21 million views, and that's just on the Cyberpunk channel alone. And it did exactly what I needed to at the time. And that's what I'm always looking at, like what is going to make that a particular project successful. You also have to take into account the reputation of the studio, coupled with the ambition, the finance, and the creativity within it, right?
And the previous creator who made it.
Yeah, exactly.
Fan base that came along with that.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it was now a public corporation, and we'll come to know that it's CDPR. Unlike Days Gone, the idea and the timing, which is also, I think someone in the chat might have been Infinite, mentioned luck. Yeah, I agree that the idea that you conceive and the timing of when you present it, and for Cyberpunk when it did so, right, I think it was early as 2013, it was either an ominous sign or an auspicious moment, right? I can't remember. I can't get those two words mixed up. But anyway, I've said them both. And CDPR were able to capture, I think, the imagination of, or ride the wave of its popularity and galvanize or assemble or bring together 30 million Witcher 3. I mean, I don't know if that number's correct or it's grown since the last time I checked it. And what it managed to garner was the unwavering support from a said set of fans and its shareholders, because both go hand in hand, because they obviously needed the funding to produce it. Let's be honest, every time it was shown, I mean, I hope I don't mean to be speaking for everybody, so I'm talking about the royal we here. We all bought into the vision and the promise, regardless of the game it was going to be, and irrespective of what anyone had to say about it, right? I mean, I saw just a comment from Miss Lupa in the chat. She's saying, look, you know what? I'll play the games that I want to play, and no one can make me play a game that I don't want to play or enjoy. And then she kind of, like, in a jest, but she's right? It's difficult to shake allegiances sometimes, right? Regardless, even in the face of adversity. But I think what these creators in CDPR, what they were really capable of, is clearly illustrating and communicating and nail the project that they wanted to produce, right? And with CDPR, you have a rare combination or a balance, if I could put it that way, of ambition, creativity, and big business expertise. Even though, you know, I'll caveat the fact that it's come into disrepute or even into question in recent times, right? And only, I'm trying to think now, only Blizzard and BioWare, perhaps in modern times, before Activision and EA came along, come to mind that perhaps had a similar structure to them. But CDPR, in terms of size, in terms of sheer size that they have, break the mold or status quo of what a gaming company looks like. And I think that was the biggest thing that a lot of fans were gravitating to, consciously, subconsciously. I don't know. That's I don't have the metrics on that at all, but that's my feeling on it. But most of the others studios are now controlled by business managers and non-creative producers, and perhaps the exceptions to that are, and you know, we quite often say, is Nintendo, and to a degree perhaps Sony, and to a further degree the teams that eventually earn the trust, time and budget at certain publishers. And I guess the two that come to mind are perhaps Respawn and Rockstar. Perhaps there's others as well, but there's the ones that come to my mind right now. And the sales of Cyberpunk to date perhaps prove that consumers will buy promise and retain lore to a degree, and even remain steadfast in what they adopt, or something, especially if something I think that is important to them, regardless of criticism. And I think that's a good thing, right? To a degree, right? If as your question is kind of poignantly poised, if I can say it like that, is to, can they deliver on the promise, right, of what they want to do and how they want to do it? And they are, again, riding on the fact that some of the DLC, and I'm not that familiar with The Witcher 3, I enjoyed it, but not enough to complete it. But, you know, people speak so highly of the DLC that concurrently followed the original game. And even if you look at the scandals that have allegedly transpired, I think the word is, and plagued CDPR, it as yet didn't completely adversely affect the company, as far as we know, right? Running from the outside looking in, right? And people forget, in my opinion, generally, you know, the troubles that are plaguing CDPR behind the scenes as of today, because everybody right now just wants the game to be fixed, wants the game to be updated, but there are other issues there. And on the face, let's be honest, on the face of it, most people don't care. Most of us don't give a damn about the plight of others, other than in the moment when they're asked the question, in order to keep face or want to be seen in tandem with political correctness within a group or fellowship or whatever, right? I mean, that's the fact of the matter. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for anyone here, as Paul wouldn't forgive me for it. But perhaps CDPR have put some of those alleged issues to bed. Like you say, take some of the pressure off, if there is some there, right? So the team can focus and they know what they're aiming towards. And I talked about this right at the beginning in terms of Days Gone, right? How teams are put together, how they're galvanized, and how they're shepherded throughout a development of the lifespan of a given development, right? Or a specific game. But I think, again, you know, I think some of the comments that I've heard, there is a kind of a blot or a question mark that remains, right, on the previously pristine reputation of CDPR. And the fact of the matter is that gamers, more so than anything else, the reason why I think they gravitate to CDPR and give them that leeway is because most of us play games because we want our imaginations engaged and we yearn for creativity. I mean, I enjoyed Cyberpunk, but having said that, I have to put hand on heart, you know, and without emotion, and say, look, creatively and technically, it left a lot to be desired in certain parts, right? But with hindsight, it was an experience that I really wanted to have, or was fortunate enough to have, because I could afford to buy the game, and I didn't let the opportunity escape me, right? because I'm not always the biggest fan of FPS games, or first-person perspectives. And here I am talking about Resident Evil 7 to high praise. But whether you love or disapprove of a game, it's by far. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's me. Being sponsored by them. So whether you love or disapprove of Cyberpunk, it's by far for me one of the most creative and ambitious games out there, and that's why it's so important to the games industry. And I'm seeing some of these other games coming up, and you guys might be familiar with them, but I don't know when and why. I have to check the timing and the dates, but I'm sure that the games like The Ascent and perhaps even Stray, and I'm sure the Indie Gamer can throw a ton more games in the chat that have been inspired by Cyberpunk. But the question should be, does Cyberpunk, and by extension or default, does CDPR and the team deserve a redemption story? And I guess the answer is, who are we to judge, right? CDPR will want to redeem some of its reputation from a technical perspective, the timing of the next-gen patch, all the fixes, associated free DLC that is rumored to or allegedly or has been confirmed, is all critical, right? And from a creative and development perspective, and probably the most important one, it comes down to galvanizing the team that took a few hits, right? Especially with death threats and so on and so forth that you're talking about, right? So do the staff, right, the team that are actually working on every bit of code, every bit of art and QA and all that sort of good stuff, right? Are they pouring in positive energy to make the game or want it to earn a redemption story? And I think that's who it comes down to at the end of the day. Are the leaders able to get that same team on the same page? And are they able to inspire each individual to want to look back and say, put hand on heart, right? And then and say that they did everything they could to make a good launch game for their fans, relatively speaking, into a game which, as you say, Mr. Stubbs, right, from a pop culture perspective, right, it's big, right? And if not, it's going to form a part of the gaming industry, whether it will grace its marble halls, I don't know, right? But yeah, you're right. Yeah, it wants to sell. It wants to try and be that game that sells for a decade, which I think The Witcher 3 is coming pretty much close up to a decade since it was released. Yep. Maybe another couple of years. And I think that's the ambition that they had for Cyberpunk. So Mr. Tushi said, I'd love to see a sequel. I don't know when we'll see it, but I'm sure we'll see a lot more down in the roadmap. And in closing, all of that's fine, right? And you've got to be professional, right, in terms of the studio and the people, regardless of your individual feelings towards the company. It's doable, but it's going to be up to the management. But it's not easy at the same time. And I'm sure, removable sanity will probably have a point to make there, right, given in the job that he does, and perhaps Animated Evil as well. I think that the creation, the vision, the development, the publishing, and the reception of Cyberpunk has so many facets to it. It's a really difficult one to sort of tear apart, look at the pieces, and dissect it, and then judge it. I think it's a hard one. However, I think it's a really good case in point. And for me, for sure, I mean, I love the game, but that's not the only reason why I'm going to continually sort of observe and see how the story of CDPR and this game transpired. Because I think longer term, we're going to see these sort of issues again, and I think we can definitely learn and glean a lot from this.
To answer your question, VJ, in the essence, is will gamers, in essence, give them a chance? As I think gamers are, I'm going to be a bit facetious here, fickle. Yeah. Fool us once, shame on you. Fool us twice, shame on us.
I think it all comes down to
you can have a great game. You have a great reputation, but this is where we kind of, and again, this is just my surmise with CD Projekt RED. They are seen at this current stage to be transparent and at least somewhat honest in how they're moving forward.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think if they fail or they make an issue again, I think you're going to see a more hardline stance, and that's not.
No, I agree with the removal. I think the issue is really, really simple, right? They overpromised, under-delivered, and what they need to do this time is under-promise and over-deliver. And I think that will go a long way to remedy the situation. And if they can't figure that out amongst their management team, then they deserve everything that's coming to them.
BJ, do you know what Cyberpunk needs? Once all the problems are resolved, it just needs the Hivebuster treatment. That's what it needs. Just be blown away by loads of DLCs on that game. Bingo some online.
which is what they're well known for. Let's face it, their
Yeah.
DLCs are large,
Rather large.
free. Yeah, and let's face it, we all know CD Projekt Red normally goes well above and beyond at providing free stuff.
Yeah.
There is paid DLC, but they do go along above and beyond in terms of free stuff. So the question is, what we can.
Sorry, just one more point. I said to Stubbs, and I think I said it on this show. I said, when that game was coming out, I said, look, I love it. I love everything about it. I think it connects so many gamers on so many levels. It's such an opportunity. But I had my doubts, and I said it that technically, on a technical level, this is a next-gen game. I'm really concerned about how this will run on PS4 and Xbox One.
Yep.
The other part of this I'm interested to see is how other developers react to. They saw what happened to CD Projekt Red when they released the game when it clearly was not ready. So is this going to affect the other developers?
Yeah, if this has an impact, I expect it's a shock. It's a shock. Let's face it. I reckon that was a big wake-up call for any next-gen game. You better get it right because
and I have a funny feeling that's why we're not. That's why we're not seeing as many. We're going to release on this day. They're keeping their mouths shut.
And let's be fair.
They're keeping their mouths shut.
Yeah, let's be fair. Of all the companies, CD Projekt Red has weathered it well. Not many companies could get that backlash and still move forward.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they've done it perfect. I'm not saying they've done it great, but they've weathered it slightly.
We forget though that Witcher 3 didn't launch as good as we all remember it.
No, Witcher 3 had a lousy launch.
It had real issues, and I'm coming from being a massive Witcher 3 fan. I bought the original. Don't know how many hours I put into that. I bought the Game of the Year edition. Put 400 hours into that. And I still got the DLC to finish as well. So yeah, I didn't get the reason I didn't get Cyberpunk was because I was on the original Xbox, the 2013 version. Tushy's showing off. Look, what are you doing? You put me off.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't get it because everyone was saying don't get it if you've got the PS4, don't get it if you've got the Xbox One original. So as soon as I'm told that the next, I might as well wait for the next gen update, and I'm in next gen now, so I might as well wait for the update. I haven't played it. But how many more people, once it goes back to the PlayStation Store and it can play on the Xbox One X and the original Xbox, how many more people are going to buy that? I reckon that's going to be their redemption story when they double their money there and then.
Yeah, and I think they've got to double down on Cyberpunk because it's the only game they have right now. And let me be clear, right? And I'm talking about the Polish people here and what I know of them, right? And business in general. Capitalizing on past failure is an incredibly powerful place to come back from if you've got the stomach for it. And that is what I'm saying. I think that they have, if I was to put a bet on, which I'm not a betting man, if I was going to bet, I'd use Paul's money and take the winnings and back the fake money. But yeah, and I think is, for me today, based on what we know, is what the truth is. And that can change tomorrow. I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all. But as I say, capitalizing on past failure is an exceptionally powerful place to come back from if you've got the stomach for it.
Oh, yeah, because they basically, at this point, we have something to prove.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
We should swing around Tushi's gaff on a tandem together.
There you go.
No, I've got to be up in 4 hours for work.
It stops to sleep.
I think
he might. No, I'm still there, just enjoying the interesting chat between you all, bouncing off each other.
Sorry, Sub Sensei.
No, it's been a really good chat tonight with us.
It's nice.
Not time for it's nice yet.
Yeah, you fraud. You were doing it last week. It's nice.
It's too early for that. Yeah.
You should, at the end of the show, we both do it and see if you both sound like each other. Put it on. It's nice.
We're doing the next topic.
I think we're gonna have to. I think we're cutting. we can't get that much in the show.
Do you want to? Okay, so instead of
I'm going to go with
do you
3
wish to
topics a
do
week. I reckon.
chat? Do you want to do chat questions?
I was
Yes.
going to say you can do that, or I can drop out, and you could probably finish the show
Yeah.
in 10 minutes.
No, you couldn't.
I reckon chat questions. Come on, get your
Have
questions
any
in there.
question
Stop.
then?
Yeah, I'll let me post something in the chat. What's the next topic?
That would work. That would work.
I've changed the
Tushi's underwear
thumbnail
colour.
and the description anyway to take the bits out we haven't covered.
Well, who's
I
gonna find the
told
first
you,
question?
I was impressed the moment I said to you. I said, you have a lot of faith that we're going to get through those topics.
We barely got through the intro.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like,
Was a bit silly, weren't it?
Yeah.
obviously your original DM had like about 15 topics. It's like, have you not learned from the previous?
It's like, have
I
you,
know.
have you not met us? Have you not met us? What's the deal here?
We push it at 3. Well, we're pushing it. Really are pushing it at 3.
Well, we had to get Cerebral's introduction in as well, so...
Yeah.
Took 9 minutes, that did.
Hey,
Oh dear.
I bet you liked it better when I didn't have much to say. Oh, much nicer that way.
Any questions in chat? Still no questions yet.
I'll type something.
We haven't
Stubbs
discussed...
underwear.
As there's no questions forthcoming yet, we haven't discussed what we've been playing this week at all.
Dun, dun, dun,
So
dun. Oh yes, that's a good
That's a
topic.
very good question.
Well, he did say he's putting on the outro instead, didn't you?
Yeah, that's true.
I've got a question
Who's
for you.
gonna go
Stubbs.
first?
If no questions come in, we can still.
I've got a question for you, Stubbs. Let me. Can I just type? I'll type it in the chat. It'd be better, wouldn't it?
Type in.
Do
What do you mean? Type it in the chat. That'd be
eat
better.
Do,
sushi?
do, 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 do.
3 hours later. It's gonna be rude, isn't it?
come on, what are you gonna do? What you actually typing a question in chat? Yeah.
I've done it.
Where's our Halo match happening? Yes. When is the Halo match
This
happening?
is
Stubbsy Wubbly?
this is very true. We need to know.
I've been waiting.
You can't just do one-sided. You have to do the other side as well. Come on. Oh look, Stubbs is now having
He's
some
on-
sort of
he's on
technical
mute
issue.
It's running to turn the internet off really quickly. Sorry, we had issues. We had to turn it off.
Oops. Yeah.
Which means we can set it up for him, and he can't get out of it.
No, that's an idea. That is an idea.
Yeah.
He's back.
Halo. I've never heard of the game. What's Halo?
It's that. It's that guy.
We need
Master
to do
Chief
it
from
so you
Fortnite,
can.
isn't it?
Well, that's what a lot of kids are now in it for. It's that guy from even my got a Fortnite.
A guy from Fortnite, yeah.
A while ago, and that's what my son thinks it is. The guy from
It's that,
Fortnite.
it's that green robot from Fortnite, isn't it? Master Chief.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well, it could be
we'll have
worse.
to
It could be a
organise this
grandparents'
match
game, Master Chef.
where it's like 50-0 or 20 or whatever to Tushi because I'm no good at Halo.
Yeah, but you need a new
Well,
picture for the one you
practice.
keep putting
We
up.
will have to arrange that.
Yeah. Indy's put a question in there for you.
Sorry.
When's Tushi finishing Hollow Knight?
I
I hasn't started it actually. Have you?
I downloaded it about a month ago, 2 months ago. Oh, you know, I said I was sticking to my plans of not buying any more games. I slowly bought one, you know.
Did you say you stick your games down your pants? I misheard you there or something. I'm really
Because I'm overly hyped for Mass Effect, I decided
Yep.
I'm not going to play no more games until that comes out.
Yep.
And so now I'm battling my backlog at the moment.
fantastic.
Which
That's a hell of a backlog.
Yeah, 600.
Yeah.
You might get an invite. Might get an invite to Sea of Thieves one day.
Oh, please. I'd love that.
I've still not played it in next gen loveliness or this gen loveliness.
Mm.
So
That's because you've been too busy playing Outriders, isn't it, animated?
Well, do you know, I've not played it as much as some other people. Once the issues were apparent, I just went, nah, not for me. I'll wait, thank you.
Yeah, Jamie's put
So,
1v1 in any game.
I'm level 21, I think, so I'm getting there, I believe.
Good.
So getting through Outriders.
I'm level 26, slacker.
Do you want to know how
I
to
know,
make
yeah.
VJ?
I'm
Bad,
not going
isn't
to
it?
mention it in that case, what I am.
Do you want to know how to make VJ really jealous?
Go on. Take it back down.
Have a drink of lilt.
Oh, no. Come on. That's below the belt.
It's a totally tropical taste.
That's below the belt. Talking about below the belt, did you see what he was doing before the pre-show?
Outriders? I don't.
This one.
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
color?
I remember that.
Da, 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 da.
Oh, God.
Leave the cocktail wiener alone.
Dear. Dear.
Oh, I
There's no
did not need to
boundary.
see that. Did not need to see that.
There's no boundary that Mr. Tushi won't cross without a smile.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Indy, what's the
With a
question?
professional
Who's the question
podcast.
to? Indy's got some questions there. Look, how do you like your steak?
What game are you hoping for the most at E3?
Hollow Knight, Silk Song.
Forza Horizon 5.
Animated?
As has been the same answer for E3 for the last God knows how long. Splinter Cell, but it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
never going to happen.
what's a realistic expectation, animation?
I'm a little bit with Tushy there with Forza
Gears mix.
Horizon 5. I like my races. If Forza Horizon 5 doesn't come, it means it's another 2 years out, because I do believe Forza will be out next year. Other than that, I can't think of one off the top of my head, really.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a surprise. I'd like to see a surprise and some gameplay. If I can have that, I'll be happy. Paul's thinking
Cerebral?
Paul knows something.
Yeah.
What about Test Drive Unlimited?
Yeah, the insider of all of us.
No
You've got that.
insider. The only game I'm really looking forward to, and I'm hoping they're going to give us a release date, again, I'm going to say it again, is that stupid, the Bethesda game that I can't, that Star, whatever. the hell
Starfield.
it is. That's the one,
Starfield.
yeah.
I forgot about that.
I know everybody's saying nobody's seen anything about it. Why are you so excited? Because I can be. Because it's my choice.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Dragon Wolf says
Space
Hellblade
to
2.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully see something for Starfield, because so far all they've got from all the fans have got from Bethesda is old games currently. Nothing new.
Yeah. I think
That's all they've
And
got
like
to offer currently.
And like I've said before, part of it is because I trust Bethesda to put out a good single player campaign game. You know, they have not failed me yet. You know,
As Dragon Ball said, imagine if they show Hellblade again. Imagine actual gameplay of it as well. That'd be nice.
That's what I mean. That's all I want from E3. Just gameplay of the games.
It
we know
might
that
show
are
you a
coming.
little bit more, but I don't. Yeah, I think you'll see. Maybe you might see a little bit more, but I don't think you'll see a full release of that until Unreal 5's completely out. That game.
Will we see Breath of the Wild?
Ooh. That'd be nice.
Yeah. I really enjoyed my time. Game.
Yeah. Indie
I
gamers
hear
put-
Indie Gamer.
Do you want me to read it out?
What is each of yours favourite indie game?
Of
Well-
all time?
This chat knows. What remains of Edith Finch?
2.
Ooh.
There's mine.
A Plague's Tale.
yeah, that'd be up there with me. That'd be up there for me.
That was a good game. That was a good game.
I loved the thought that put into it. Like, when you shoot out the torches, so the lights go out, so you can get the rats to kill the enemies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that the story twisted it is brilliant. I loved it. I did. It's one of those games, because it rarely happens, but it's one of those games that caught me. It was good.
Oh, and one thing, I love the sound quality on the Plague's Tale, especially in headphones, was amazing. Added to the freaky. I mean, to have all those little mice running around.
There's a lot as well, wasn't there, on screen?
Yeah.
I was thinking the console's pushed to its limits, all the stuff going on. It's crazy.
Yeah, it had to. Of course, I had it on my PC, not on my Xbox. So.
Nice.
See, did you finish Plague's Tale?
Yeah.
Tushi. I never finished it. I'm a bit into it. Really loved it. But my other half refuses to do anything with rats, so I can't play it when she's around. It's like, oh, turn it off. Oh, really? Come on. It's a picture on a screen. I don't like them, I don't. So, recently played inside.
Someone play rats? It's my job.
Rats.
That's my job, killing rats, getting rid of rats.
Some of the creative ways to deal with those rats is fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. Recently played. I've not played a lot of indie games. I've been trying to sort of dip my toe in a little bit here and there. So I played Inside a couple of weeks ago, which I really loved. Thanks to the Indie Gamer for suggesting that. So right now, because that's my recently played one, that I think it was so weird but good.
Well, so fair, you cut that is really Inside. Yes. Yeah. That's a very good game, actually. That is,
loved it.
Have you tried Limbo?
Oh, wait. Now he's being picky. Now he says
Not
the
yet.
Plague Tale's a little
Not
big.
yet.
He wants a smaller title. Now he's just being obnoxious.
With Inside, I couldn't think of a reason to score it lower than a 10. It was absolutely brilliant. And I thank Indian Stuff for recommending me to that game.
Yep.
Recommended it more like taking the mickey.
Yeah, Indie Gamer told me to play it, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And of course, my next foray into indie games has to be Hollow Knight, because I've been told I have to play it.
Yeah.
So that's my next foray.
It's not a quick game to play.
That's all right.
It's not a quick game, that's not.
Yeah. Indie Gamer said Plague's Tale's a little big, something smaller.
Yeah.
He's 17 gigs small. Terminator Resistance. That's another one of mine. Could you class that as a small one?
Oh, I really enjoyed The Tourist as well.
Played...
Tourist was really good. Anybody play The Tourist?
Yeah. I haven't played it yet. It's on my list.
Played that one. I've heard about it.
Mr. VJ told me to play that, and I really enjoyed that as well. Really good.
All I can say is fuck Bob.
Have you both played the two endings of Inside?
No.
Only one.
That's where you're going wrong. You need to play both of them. You need to go through and do the second ending.
I know.
Because you've completed it once, and go on YouTube, and you have to get every achievement to do it. But because it's the game's, I'm not going to ruin anything. Because the game's open to interpretation, the second ending will really help you.
Yep.
Or could mess your head up.
Probably.
To be fair, Indie, I've told you a few times that I don't always realize what's an indie game and what's not. If I play the game and I enjoy it, it's awesome. I don't necessarily look at who published it and who made it. Seriously, I played indie games without realizing they're indie games until you've said something. Oh, that's an indie. Holy shit!
Yeah, I can actually respect that. Yeah.
So is Indie accepting my game as Terminator Resistance? Is that all right?
Come on, removable. You're awfully quiet. That's why I've kept exceptionally quiet. I have kept exceptionally quiet for indie games because I have way too many in my head that I just adore. So it is.
Well, I'll tell you what.
That's the problem. I can't say one or the other because at the moment there is indie games for me. They hit so many different genres. They hit home in so many different ways. There's some that hit home mentally. There's some that hit home emotionally. There is some that hit home enjoyment-wise. And each one is different in some cases. I've got some that really hit home for me emotionally. Some that really hit home for me mentally. And it's hard to put a name to say, well, this is my top 1 or 2 or top 3, because to be honest with you, I don't think I could do it. I think I'm struggling. It's a question for me. It's like a loaded gun. There's so many out there that I'm just enamored with, and I'm looking forward to. I wish I was lucky as you guys who just said I could. Hollow Knight, and just say that.
No.
For me though.
I'm restraining myself from saying Hollow Knight, but what I would like to say, and I think Miss Looper, I've seen her play it, and the Indie Gamer, is that I wanted to give a shout out to Spiritfarer for achieving over 500,000 sales, which I tweeted about it, but it's just interesting that not many people pay attention to those sorts of games. But it's not my favourite game.
I'm actually playing that.
There you go.
I'm playing that currently. Spiritfarer.
My work is done. And perhaps
I'm playing that. I'm liking it.
I've heard awesome stuff about Octopath Traveler.
Game.
It is. I'm playing that at the moment, actually, Octopath Traveler. I'm about 15 hours in.
And what's your take on it?
I think it's really, really good. The storytelling,
the surface,
the music and the combat system. It's quite fantastic, and I like the way the visuals look, and I like the way the structure of the game. The story, it just depends on what type of storytelling you like, and that may have a bearing on how much you do or don't enjoy the game. That's my honest assessment of the game so far.
Fair enough.
Can I class Cyberpunk as an indie game?
It's not an independent developer. Well, I suppose, is it?
It is.
I guess it was before it went public.
Well, this has come up in talks with indie, and I don't. It is actually independent, but because of their financials and how many staff they employ, they're not. Indie doesn't agree they're an independent developer.
There is a technical definition
they're
of
massive.
what is indie and what isn't. And it's all to do with financial aspects.
A small team, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, this is a debate for another time, but I would say that before it went public in 2018, it was independent. So really, Cyberpunk, it depends, right? How much of the game was complete by the time it went public? If it was a third, was it 2/3? So technically, Mr. Tushi, you are right. Perhaps if you are only enjoying the first 2/3 of it, that is an indie game, but the last third is perhaps not an indie game, is a public game.
Yeah, when it was first announced, it was it 2014 or something?
13.
13?
Yeah.
Do you reckon they even thought about the whole story, what it's going to be when they announced it?
Well, it was based on the original creator's novel. Yeah. Cyberpunk has been, I can't think of his name now. I knew it off by heart, but the Cyberpunk genre has been around since 1980, I think. He created the actual Cyberpunk world and novels and expanded upon it. So when they approached Mike Ponsworth, that's it, Mike Ponsworth. When they approached him, Cyberpunk was really kicking off. I mean, it kind of hit pretty hard in the early 90s with anime. So if you're an anime fan, you probably would have, picked up some aspects to it, like maybe Ghost in a Shell, Akira. They had some sort of cyberpunk-esque aspects to it. But it probably is only really took off, and I'd say in terms of mainstream, probably coming around the 2000s. But Mike Pondsmith created it. I think it was around the 80s. Not 100% sure. So in a way, it has a reputation already. Had a fan base and a reputation already there. And I think the spin they would bring onto it was that they were going to listen to the creator, take as much heavily emphasis as possible and trying to basically trying to realize his vision. And that's why he was promoting the game heavily, because he spent a lot of time trying to say, well, look, this is what they would do. This is what you need to do. Here's the background of these types of tribes. Here's even the verbal sounds I want to hear from these certain particular tribes. Here's in the dialect. He had a lot of influence in. So really, it was the almost like the essence was already there for CPR Projekt RED to move forward with. They just had to realise it. So that probably took a little bit of pressure off, but not a lot, because obviously they've got the creator of Cyberpunk right next to them, and they've got to make sure they do a good job.
I just wanted something to say to Animated Evil is I know I kind of gave you a very short description of what I felt about Octopath Traveler. There's someone on Twitter, you probably know him, Archimedes, Boxing Bear.
I do.
He's tweeting a lot about his love for the game and the fact that he can also play it on the go, etc., etc.
Yeah,
so I'd take his opinion over mine, because he's obviously spent a lot more time with it. But the game it is an RPG. It does require time, and me wanting to get back to it after this podcast, if that tells you anything, then take it as you will.
Fair enough. It really does. It does tell me a lot.
About this podcast or about the game?
No, about the game. About the game. It really does. If you're looking forward to hanging up your headphones and putting a game on it, that speaks volumes. It really does.
Yeah.
There's a few games like that we've got in our minds. Who's going to be gaming after this?
Me
for probably an hour.
Shoot, I'm gaming right now. I don't know what your problem is.
I wish.
I can multitask, baby.
I'll probably fall asleep like normal because I've got work tomorrow. But anyway, it's been a very fun show. We've had quite good numbers for quite a lot of the show. Obviously, people enjoying the topics. They were quite packed, and some very good opinions from the panel, as always. It's a very, very good show. I'm going to keep it to 3 topics next week, not try and do 8. Or 7 or whatever. But the problem now will be changed, and the description and all that will be changed by the time this goes back. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. There's been some good discussions in the chat. Thanks, Looper, for coming by. Graphic God, the Indie Gamer, JNL, Destiny 2 News, Profits,
Mama Rocks,
Dragon Wolf, Mama Rocks, Animated Evil, Back from the Dead. I'll keep going in my normal style because you posted in chat.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Who else? Been loads of us. It's been the lad. Yeah, Telegonic. It's been loads. But thanks, VJ, for coming on tonight. It's been a really good show. It has you've had some well thought out and opinions, which were very, very good. They were, as always, because as people don't know, VJ regularly calls me. If you were to hear these calls, you think, fucking hell, that's a podcast. You would.
Do you know, Stubbs? About a week or two ago, I was on the phone to VJ. I pulled up at the yard. I don't know. It was a 2.5 hour drive on the phone to him. Remember?
I can believe that.
I was in London, and he rang me. Then I was on the phone in the truck through the hands-free kit, and I pulled up at the yard. I've just been on the phone fucking 2.5 hours. Yeah, it's all right. We have a good time.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show, VJ.
You're always welcome, sir.
It was good.
Thanks for having me on.
Do you want to tell people where they can find you, or
not really?
It's up to you. What you want to say?
No, go away.
No,
Leave me alone.
Yeah. I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. Let's leave it at that.
Okay. Thanks for coming on the show, Mr. Tushi.
Haha. Thanks for having me on again.
Do you want to
I'm
promote
still smiling, but
your
I'm half
stuff?
asleep. Yeah, you can find me anywhere as Mr. Tushi. That's about it, really. I just mentioned about the community game night this week. I've not tweeted it out yet, but I'll tweet it out in the morning. Friday, we're going to go for Sniper Elite 4 again, which should be a wild one. And then on Saturday, we're doing Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Dirt 5. It should be a fun night. Bad Company will be something different. We've not played that one yet. Is that interesting for VJ then? Ooh.
Yeah, I've got my headphones repaired and they're back now. So yeah,
Nice.
You got the same ones again?
no, I sent them into Turtle Beach and they were nice enough to send back. I don't know if they're refurbished or repaired or a full replacement, but
Nice.
I've got a working set of headphones again.
That's good then.
So I'm ready for Sea of Thieves.
Nice. We need to do that again.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, Sandy changed his name. He is now Sandy the Hippie.
Sandy did.
Oh, he has changed it, so yeah. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on, Mr. Tushi. It's been a good show tonight. It has. Cerebral, thanks for coming on tonight. It's been a good one.
Oh, no, thanks for having me again. Always exciting, always fun.
It is.
I actually think this panel is a very good mix.
You say that now, but in the DM, that's a completely different sort of situation.
Hey, I told you in the DM, keep your mouth shut.
He told us earlier we have to agree no matter what.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I missed that. Sorry. Yes.
No, it's always a great
See,
time.
Doctor, don't realise we didn't talk about Xbox in this show this week, by the way, everyone.
Yeah. So you can find me at Cerebral Paul 1 on Twitter, Cerebral Paul on Twitch, YouTube. Just get my link off of Twitter because I still need more followers so I can make my own personal link because YQWZX23 is not easy to follow. And then on Xbox, it's Cerebral Paul 921. So, and of course, you can find me on Sundays when we have it on the Flamish Experience. Hopefully, he'll be back this week. He's been having some back problems, etc. And back problems suck because I've been there. It takes forever to heal. And then you can find me here every Wednesday. And that's about it for now. More stuff coming up soon. So.
Good to hear. And Animated Evil, thanks for coming by tonight. It was a very good show actually. It was some good, interesting topics. I like the way we all bounced off each other and all jumped in. I do like it. It's like that. It's like feels like it's a bit more.
You sound surprised.
How do you say, free flowing without topics? It is topics, you know. Oh, there were some organic topics that came out from subtopics, you know.
Well, I like I said a couple weeks ago, it's more conversational, not so stuffy, not so. What do you think? What do you think? Oh, what do you think? You know.
Well, thank you for having me on again. Obviously, it's an absolute pleasure to hang out with you guys every Wednesday. The chat is also just amazing. Some great peeps hanging out. Not going to name names, but you all know who you are. You can find me at animated_evil on Twitter and YouTube, and you can find me at animatedevil857 on Xbox and Twitch. So I have the pleasure to help Mr. Tushi on a Friday and Saturday on his community game night. On a Sunday, you can find me with Paul over on the Flamish Experience. On a Tuesday, you can find me over at 4GQTV Radio. On every Wednesday, I'm here. I think that's it. I apologise if I've missed anything. I'm a busy boy. I can only apologise.
You are. Yeah, thanks, Animated, for coming on. Removable. Before I say thanks, Indie Gamer said he didn't. What was your favourite indie game? Was it of all time? He didn't catch
I
yours.
no, because I couldn't think of one. And I still can't. It's
Just at this present moment in time.
One for
present
next
moment
week,
in
then you
time.
can think about it.
It's a hard
about
one. It's
How about
right.
how
I
about
can't.
how about rather than something your favourite, give us a suggestion of what someone like me who's just dipping my toe into indie games, give me a suggestion what I should play.
So,
Anything that Indie Gamer recommends, probably.
That's an easy way.
I tried.
You're taking the easy way out on all these questions, aren't you?
I am. Do you know why? Because do you know what it is?
You should be saying, go to my channel and watch my videos. You should be saying.
Politician.
You know what? I get a little nervous promoting myself. I should try and stop that, but I always get a little nervous promoting myself. I know that it's. I don't know. I don't like promoting myself, and it's one of my biggest problems.
I want to be a streamer, but I don't want to talk about it.
Can I explain to you what you don't realise is I've got about 10,000 views on my channel, and I've just been over to Removable Sanity. So you don't realise is on a lot of removals reviews and stuff in the past. I've got a lot of views because this man has 125,000 views on his channel.
Wow,
that's a lot. Yes,
really.
It says
I haven't looked at that one.
125,378,000 views. That's what it says.
125,378,000 more than I have.
Yeah, it's.
I think that could
so
be some
people
of the
are
big
watching
ones,
your content. Probably some of the
I'm
old
appreciative
ones,
of anyone who does. Yeah,
still good.
I'm appreciative of it.
You've got to promote yourself removable, otherwise how else are you going to make Prime Minister?
You need to promote yourself. So promote yourself now, removal. Tell people to subscribe, like.
Oh God, you know, yeah, any of that. Please do. I appreciate any of that. Oh God, you put me on the spot. You know, it's one of those things. I've got to really try and get past that.
You're not in
I
the
would call
spot,
it imposter syndrome. Yeah, I've got a slight imposter syndrome, and I always think I'm no good, no matter how hard I try to do the best I can. I always got that slight imposter syndrome, and I think that is for any content creator. You know, you kind of doubt yourself. You do. You doubt yourself. I look at cerebral stuff. It's like, oh, that's great. I can do it. I look at tushi stuff. It's like, I wish I could say stuff like that. You know.
Well, I look at, like, I've been put on a lot of lists lately, and like streamers you have to catch, and I'm like, I really don't belong on the list with these people. You know.
It's a hard thing. Yeah, it's trying to just accept that maybe you are good enough, and I think that's a personal journey. And even now, I still struggle with it, But enough of that. If you would like to view my channel or view me or even have a chat with me, you can find me on Twitter, Minds, YouTube, and Xbox under the name Removable Sanity. And again, I thank you so much for even just letting me speak on here. I'm just very grateful.
It's always a pleasure to have you on Removable and the panel. It is.
Where can we find Stubbs? That's the main question.
OnlyFans.
KFC.
Yeah.
Get a bargain bucket.
You can find me on. We can find me on this channel. Subscribe. Stubbs Gaming on Twitter with 2 Z's. All the links are in the description. And the Stubbs Cast is returning next week. It is.
Who with?
A very, very good guest.
Chicken nuggets.
It's under NDA currently. It's under NDA.
Wow.
What, the
That's
guest?
good.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Did you say the guest is under NDA?
Yes, I can't say.
So that means that it must be Phil.
When is that going to air, Stubbs? Do you know? Is it this coming week or?
All goes to plan. It'll be this Friday.
Okay, this coming week. Nice.
Just tell you the truth. It's fucking crap gamer.
Can I?
Well, the person that is actually, I don't know whether to. I've got to reconfirm it.
Okay.
I don't know if I
real
can
quick,
say
I,
yet.
I forgot about a special
Alright.
thing I'm doing this Saturday.
Oh, who are you?
Yeah,
Ooh.
on my YouTube channel, if you have HBO Max or otherwise can see it, I will be watching Mortal Kombat, and I'm going to live stream reaction, just discussion. So if you want to watch it it's like we're watching together apart. I can't stream the movie, but we can still watch it at the same time, which is noon my time, 6 p.m.
I
your
envy
time.
you. I really envy you because I want to see that. And I haven't got. We in the UK don't have HBO.
Don't have HBO Max, and they don't have a service over there that's basically doing the same thing. Well, that kind of sucks.
Nope.
We'll get it next year, won't we? Or something when some other
I think
service
so,
will
yeah.
get taken.
I don't know, because a lot
frustrating,
of the stuff on HBO is like they're all going about the Snyder Cut. It's actually on Sky. They're putting a lot of that stuff on
there you
Sky.
go.
Yeah,
So
that's
you might
Sky
wanna
will
check
do it.
Sky, if
Sky will
doing
do it. It'll be a couple of weeks out
Oh,
Well,
minimum.
apparently, if you got Sky Movies, the Zack Snyder Cut's free to go and watch. You know, it's not extra.
Yeah, but I mean,
Sort of
it'll be a
been
couple. It'll be a couple of weeks out from when HBO get their stuff.
which is we're
think.
getting it Friday, the same day it releases here in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will be
fair
watching
enough.
it Saturday.
Be-
When I stream my watching it Saturday, that will be the first time I watch it. So.
I just hope they've got
Sounds
some.
cool.
I hope they put in the old
Okay.
retro Mortal Kombat movies. The music. Do.
So I'm going to reveal the NDA has just been approved to. I can break the NDA on the Stubbscast now.
Who told
I
you?
have.
Have you had sufficient legal advice?
5 p.m. Well, at the time, I think it's 5 p.m. EST on Friday. I'll have to confirm it. But I have the one and only Indie Gamer on the Stubbscast.
Yay!
That'd be
Awesome.
I know he's been on before, but he was on a dual podcast, and we didn't go in depth on how indie started. Not like proper in depth, and on like YouTube, because Indie's very knowledgeable on YouTube. He knows a lot of information about YouTube and analytics. He
By now,
knows
if you
his
don't
stuff.
know how indie started,
but-
it's his
yeah,
mommy
but-
and his daddy met each other, and they made mad love one night.
They were
It
clapping
wasn't.
cheeks.
But yes,
He
it's,
just appeared
keep an
out of
eye
thin
out.
air when indies came into being. So did Indie Gamer. It just.
Yeah, there it is.
That sounded like a queef.
it will be a very good show. It will. But keep your eyes on Twitter, and I'll put the event up, and I will confirm the time of Indie. I will on that.
That sounds like a film. The time of Indie was nigh.
I'm just wondering if Indy's going to poke you about Hollow Knight Live.
Hopefully.
The AAA gamer is on. That's a hint to something. That is. You might hear it in the show in Stubbscast. But it should be fun anyway. It has returned. The Stubbscast. And Go Force Gaming will be on soon. He's not booked yet because he set a requirement to me. He has to reach 100 subscribers.
Has he not
So
done that
he's
yet? I
about
thought he's
four-
already at 100 now.
No, he's about 4 away. He hasn't actually done it yet. I tried to get some more people to subscribe to him earlier, but my
If
tweet
anyone
hasn't worked.
if anyone in chat has not subscribed to Go Force
Oh no, he
Gaming on
needs
YouTube, please do.
3 more subscribers. He does.
Please
3 more.
do.
Yep, I already subscribed.
He's a very cool dude.
But I invited him a while ago. No, I need to earn it. I need to get at least 100 subscribers. So he is now 3 subscribers away. He is.
I was cheap. I had like 12 subscribers when I started on this podcast. So, but now I'm up to 64. So
You got the same as me.
Oh,
I got 64.
Post-stream.
Stubbs, is that this Friday, right?
wait a minute.
That you got the big fraud.
No.
on? Or is that next week?
So obviously it's next week. I've got my dates mixed up. So keep your eyes out on Twitter because it will be next week. I've
So
got
if
the
you
dates
tune
mixed
in
up
this
on it.
Friday and you're wondering where the hell Stubbs is,
Yeah, I've got it wrong. Yeah. Anyway, next week Friday, because I've got the dates wrong. What a plonker, eh? I am right. Thanks for stopping by, everyone, and we will see you next Wednesday.
It's nice.
It's nice.
See you later.
Hey, y'all.
later.